What is the name of this video? It's an AMA advice for hunters. Okay. Well, folks, we're going to do another Ask Me Anything. And while I was out fishing last week in about a 50-mile-an-hour wind, the crew put up a post on Instagram and Facebook about financial advice for hunters, which I don't know if I'm the right guy, because if any of you are financial professionals, investment advisors, just turn it off right now. Because I'm like the most non-traditional, contrarian person you're ever going to meet. And most of you financial advisors are just jealous that I fish 60 days a year and I hunt 100 days a year and you guys work. So that's the goal. I want all of you to be able to fish 60 days a year and hunt 100 days a year. I haven't looked at any of these questions. I have no idea what there are, but look how many of them there are. There's no way I don't have this much information. So I got to make up some of this stuff. And the disclaimer, my wife said, I told her I was coming to do this. She said, you better issue a disclaimer so that you can't get sued for any divorces or any bad financial decisions people make. So that's the disclaimer. This advice is worth less than you're going to pay for it. So with that, let's go. What are the most common things people spend their disposable income on that could be converted to hunting budget? Booze, cigarettes, snooze, new vehicles, toys like boats and snowmobiles and ATVs. They finance things. There's a general rule that you only finance something that makes you money, like your business equipment or your business office building, or something that appreciates, like your house, hopefully. Now, don't go into debt for snowmobiles. Whenever I see somebody signing paperwork at the boat dealership or at the ATV dealership to finance something, I'm like, that guy is not going to go hunting this year. Or if he goes one day, he's going to be lucky. Stuff like that is like, why are you blowing money on that? You know, I get people who, they have gym memberships and they have country club memberships and stuff like that. And if that's your thing, I guess, spend money on it, but why do you need a gym membership if you can just go hiking or walking or go do some yard work or something? I drive a desk for a living. I haven't had a gym membership my entire life. What's a gym membership cost, guys?
30.
Only 30 bucks a month? Well, still, that's 360 bucks. Right there's my Nevada deer tag. You know, all the little things that, do you really need that? Oh, need a new cell phone every 6 months, and I need the greatest cell phone package. Oh, and then cable TV, right? This is where marriage advice is going to enter some of this. I hate cable TV, but it's a condition of my marriage because my 81-year-old mother-in-law lives with us part of the time, and I've been told that she has to watch her shows. I've just been told that it's not a discretionary item, it's a mandatory item. Now, if my dear mother-in-law, and I do love her dearly, wasn't part of our household, I'd cut that. That'd be gone so fast. Even in the gear world, I see people blowing money on stupid stuff. Like, did you really need that? You complain about the price of tags, you complain about this, but you got all these things going on in your life where it's money out the door, money out the door. Vehicles are probably the biggest money drain. They don't appreciate, they depreciate. The newer and more expensive they are, the more insurance you got to carry, and the more that insurance costs. If you've ever went to a dealership and bought a vehicle and got the extended warranty, just turn off the channel right now. You probably don't care about your finances. Insurance, well, it's a risk management tool. So many people blow so much money insuring every package they ship and insuring this and insuring that. Insure your health, insure your house, insure your income stream. Those are risks. Other than that, do you really need all that stuff? Even a motorhome. Who the hell would buy a motorhome? That's just a $100,000 mechanical complication. You can only use it part of the year. You can't park it hardly anywhere. You can't drive around in it. And you're going to buy it? What do they say? The two best days of anyone who ever bought a motorhome? The day they bought it and the day they sold it. I mean, if you got the money to blow, none of this applies, but Hope this one isn't as long as Josh's. Evan English. Obviously, over-the-counter self-guided hunting will be the most cost-effective strategy. Yeah, it would be. I've done 3 in Colorado with the help of fellow hunters who are retired, driving all the way from Florida. However, if I wanted to do a drop camp or a guided hunt for a week, what is the expected or average cost? What is the appropriate tip? Boy, that's all over the map. For a guided hunt, those can be up to $20,000 even for a Cadillac elk hunt. A drop camp, those can be as low as $2,500. So that's a pretty big range. The expected tip, it's really to what level of service the guide gave you. I mean, did they go above and beyond? Did they work their butt off? Did they take care of all kinds of things? If something crazy happened, did they take care of that? Most guides, a really good guide is worth every penny you're gonna tip them. And most people will say a minimum of 10% on up to whatever you feel is appropriate. Adam Pruitt, how do you plan out and pay for expensive out-of-state hunts? For example, me as a Wyoming resident wanting to hunt in Colorado and Montana. If you take nothing away from this video, have a household budget. And I know you're gonna say, well, Newberg, you're an accountant. Accountants do budgets. Yeah, we do. But if you do a household budget, you're gonna see where your money's being twittered away. Your Colorado elk tag is gonna cost you $640. That's $50 a month. Let's say $60 a month. Let's even say $70 a month. You plan it out and you just budget for it. I mean, we did a podcast, Corey Jacobson and I, about all the places you could apply if you had a $1,000 budget. And I think we ended up with 4 states that you could apply with a $1,000 budget. Well, at this point in my life, yeah, I easily can come up with a $1,000 budget. When I had student loans, was just out of college, was making $10 an hour, I didn't have that kind of budget. So it was a function of every month, all right, I found $10 that I put in my savings account, $10. And that's how I got there. I know it might sound like old-fashioned, grandma put her cash in each different envelope. That's kind of how you do it. It's not that complicated. It's a budgeting process and priority process. Tim Brockett, how do you determine what percentage of money should go towards retirement, which will include my hunting and other hobbies, versus hobbies, hunting funds, and the short, medium term, and what to save and invest for long-term goals? That's up to everybody. It's up to what your income level is. It's also, how much debt do you have? Are you paying off a mortgage? Are you paying off student loans? Because all of those things they're not part of your discretionary funds. When you're doing this budget, you got discretionary, non-discretionary. Treat your retirement, your savings, your other stuff as non-discretionary. Pay yourself first. Just like it's part of your mortgage, like it's part of your, paying off any other debts you have. And then over here you have discretionary. And if you want to spend all of your discretionary money on hunting and fishing, I'm like, knock yourself out. As long as these non-discretionary things, which include your retirement and your rainy day fund, are taken care of, I'd tell somebody, spend 100% of your discretionary money on hunting and fishing. Now, whether you're the husband or wife, I know some women who hunt way more than their husbands. Just make sure that you're balancing that out. Because if you listen to my marriage advice podcast, you know that I tell people that $1,000 bow that you just bought is a $5,000 bow. $1,000 for the bow, at least $2,500 for something that your spouse wants, and $1,500 for what the household needs. So you add all that together, your $1,000 bow is a $5,000 bow. So don't go and buy a bow if you don't have $5,000. Jeremiah Larson. What if your goal is filling your freezer with wild meat? I think it's a great goal. Everyone should have that goal. What's the least amount of money to spend on the most amount of wild meat? If it's about filling my freezer, I'm going down to Fish, Wildlife, and Parks down here about 5 miles from my house, and I'm buying as many doe tags as they'll give me. And I've done this before. And then I'm gonna go over to all these people, all these farmers who have white-tailed does, just eating them out of house and home. And my freezer's gonna be really full. If hunting is a justification of the food it provides at the cost you incur to acquire that food, don't be traveling out of state. Don't be chasing bucks. Shoot does. Tags are usually cheaper, they're easier to get, and you're going to be doing your part for conservation most likely. Jonathan Rothleader. If I create a hunting something that involves hunting or turn myself into X Hunting LLC, could I make my trips tax deductible for research and development purposes? No, the answer, Jonah, is no, you can't do that. You have to actually have a profit motive in order to deduct expenses related to any activity. So the IRS looks at this and says, all right, does this meet the level of trade or business activity, or is it a hobby? A hobby has a lot of personal pleasure. It doesn't have much of a, what I would call, business motive. It usually doesn't include its own separate checking account, its own separate credit card account. It usually doesn't include its own set of books. Over here, a real trade or business, whether you're an outfitter, you know, you own the coffee shop, you own a mowing business, whatever, those have a profit motive. And the IRS looks to see, are you making a profit every so often? And are your cumulative profits more than your cumulative losses? Don't get yourself in that trap of, oh, I want to write off my hunting expenses. Unless you really are doing it as a trade or business, like I do, and you got 12, how many employees we got now? 12? We meet the threshold of trade or business activity, but just saying you're an LLC or saying you're XYZ, you know, whatever, that doesn't allow you to write it off. Matt M. How do you recommend bringing up how much time and money you spend on hunting to someone you want a serious relationship or that you might possibly marry? This is coming from a single guy who is seriously wondering how to broach the topic one day. I've been in this situation about certain things before. It's kind of like you're just waiting. When's this weakness? When's this chance going to happen? Since you're the guy and I'm a guy, I can tell you how this is going to work out. You're going to think, oh, this is my time. She's going to see right through you. She's going to know exactly what your ulterior motive is because they're smarter than we are. Women are so much smarter than guys, it's not even worth spending time arguing about. But to your question, how do I recommend bringing it up? And this is where I'll be serious about it. You just say how it is. You just say, these are my priorities in my life at this point. And yeah, when I get married, my priorities, I'm willing to adjust my priorities to this marriage and our family or whatever your goals are. But you still have your other priorities because we've all seen the guy who, maybe it's a gal too, I haven't seen it with gals, but it could be just the same. The guy who used to hunt and fish all the time goes and gets married, and now what's he doing on Thanksgiving morning while we're out on the mountain hunting elk? He's got to stay at home and help cook the turkey. Guess how long that marriage lasts? I've had farts that last longer than some of those marriages. Be honest about it. You know, don't beat around the bush. As long as you say what your priorities are, you'll sort it out. And it's better to know now than to try to fake it. Because as one family member tells me, boy, I wish it was as easy to get unmarried as it was to get married, he said. BM Hawkeye. The gear is killing me. Any shortcuts to be ready without selling my oldest son? Yeah, I say this all the time. The most important piece of gear you got is right here. I mean, I'm blessed now that with what we do over the life of my hunting, I've sorted out what works for me, what's going to work great for the type of hunting I do. But Jonathan over here running the camera wants me to do a shop story about how they see these old pictures of me, and I'm wearing, my hunting boots were a pair of Converse All-Stars. For deer, for elk, for antelope, that's what I had. I had a Jansport book bag was my backpack. That's all I had for a pack. I made it work. Going out in the hills with whatever you have is way more important than blowing your budget on gear that's gonna prohibit you or slow you down from the number of days you, and it sounds like you got some kids, you want to get into it. Oh, maybe not, no. It says without selling my oldest son. Don't sell your oldest child. You don't need to have all the gear that you think you do. And you can add to it over time. You know, if this is your first elk hunt, you don't need to go buy everything you see in a catalog, everything you see on a picture of somebody on Instagram. Odds are they've bought it and it works for them because of their hunting style. Figure out what your hunting style is, figure out what's effective, figure out where maybe there are some deficiencies in what you have, and go and acquire that. But don't blow all your money on gear. Oh, let's see, Nate Olson. Randy, I'm able to put $3,000 to $5,000 away each year depending on my income from side jobs. Is it best to simply put this into a savings account, or is there a better avenue? I would love to do a combo hunt in Canada or Alaska for multiple species, and getting started on the savings process and the timeline for a deposit and eventual hunt are what holds me back from committing to the process. Okay, well, here's one of the problems with hunts in Canada and Alaska right now. The price of them are going up faster than inflation. You probably want to go do it sooner rather than later. When you get close to feeling that you have enough money, book that deposit, book that hunt, and go do it, because whatever return you're getting in that savings account that you've got for your hunting budget, that return is never going to keep up with the cost of inflation of what we're seeing with these high demand hunts. So, is it best to simply put this into a savings account, or is there a better avenue? Is there a better avenue? I don't know. What's your risk tolerance? For me, I always just put it in a savings account and knew that, all right, I got a purpose for this in the next 2 years. Well, if I'm going to use it in 2 years, I'm not putting it in the stock market. Because if you were around in 2002 or 2008, maybe just in our near future, who knows, you've seen that stock markets can go down and go down significantly. So if you need that money early, don't be putting it in a high risk place. Well, what a timely example. Jed Reese, would you invest in cryptocurrency and pull the money out in 5 or 6 years for a future hunt? That's it. You may as well go to Vegas and put it on the roulette wheel, you know, red or green. I don't know anything about cryptocurrency. I don't own any of it. You know, it's went crazy earlier in this year, and now I saw it's dropped like 35% in the last couple weeks. I mean, my hunting budget and my hunting money is way more important to me than to go throw it out on the, you know, the gambling market called cryptocurrencies. And some of you who've done it are probably saying, Newberg, you idiot. Look, you know, I bought a new house with my Bitcoin. Knock yourself out. Matthew, my son, what's the one, Doggy Coin or Dogecoin or whatever? He bought $10 of it just as a joke about 4 or 5 years ago, and he told me that he bought it. I'm like, wow, I guess it's only $10 or something. The other day he told me it's up to like $2,500. So I shouldn't even be saying that, because now some people are going to say, well, yeah, that is a way to do it. My point of that is risk reward is huge in this, and I'm not going to risk my hunting budgets. I'll take a little lower returns to know that my money is going to be there when I want to go hunting. Oh, Dave, how you doing, buddy? How do you strike a balance between going on less expensive hunts every year, but also trying to plan for the dream hunts, like the caribou hunt you went on? We talk about this, about having priorities of short-term, mid-term, long-term. So I have these hunts where they're my short-term things. I know I'm going to go every year or every other year or every third year. And while I'm doing that, I'm building points and I'm investing some money in a midterm thing that might be 5 to 9 years. And then I got a few of them that are these long-term things, like 10 plus years down the road. So allocate some of your budget to a little of each, but start with the short-term stuff, because that is the stuff that's going to get you out in the field every year. It's kind of like stocks, right? Don't put all your money on one stock. Diversify. Jim Crilly. The meat we get is a benefit, but can also be an expense for those of us that don't butcher. Yep, learn how to butcher. How do you deal with all the meat you get? Any suggestions or resources to help those learning how to get the most from what they harvest? My favorite part of hunting is the gutting and gilling and taking care of the meat. Unfortunately, I'm traveling so much in the fall that most of my wild game ends up out here at Yellowstone Meats, Buzz and Patty. They take care of it. But whenever I can, I want to do my own. It's just culturally and generationally a big part of the deal of hunting and fishing in my family. So I want to do that, and before I started traveling so much with these platforms, I did all of my own processing. Go watch the videos of how to do it. I mean, we got videos on our YouTube channel on how to do some of this stuff. We actually went out to Buzz and Patty's shop, and Buzz walked you through how to take care of a cow elk. Well, a deer is way easier than an elk, so learn how to do that. One, you're gonna end up with meat that you're comfortable with the quality. Not every meat operator, processor is like Buzz and Patty out here at Yellowstone Meats. There are some where you don't know if you're getting your meat. You don't know how well it got taken care of. Did it get cleaned up? Did it get trimmed up? Learn those skills. They're super valuable. You're gonna salvage a lot of meat when you're out in the field. The way you're gonna do your shots and stuff, you're gonna understand what shots hurt the meat, what shots save more meat, what you do in camp to keep it cool. So to me, that's a super important skill to learn. It's part of being a hunter, is to have that skill set. If you pay someone else to do it, that's gonna cost you money and it's gonna take it out of your budget. My answer to that is try to figure out ways to do it yourself, and it's not that hard. If I could do it, I mean, I'm an accountant, right? If I could figure it out, anybody could do it. Gerard, what pieces of gear are my no compromise pieces? Where do you spend top dollar versus other items that you may cut back on to be able to afford a hunt? My optics, I don't compromise there. You get what you pay for in most of these instances. Boots, backpacks, most high performance clothing. Those are probably the main things that I'm spending money on, and people might say, that's crazy that you'd spend that much on a backpack or a whatever, pair of boots. There are certain things I don't compromise on, and as I got a little more discretionary income, I kept upgrading them. And I wish you saw my gear list before we started the show. The year before we started the show, my gear list wouldn't have been much different than what it is today. Thanks for watching.